traveling the last couple of days. As most of you know, I was in Canada speaking for the last couple of days, so I have a little jet lag trying to get back to East Coast timing and catch up on all the work that was sitting waiting for me while I was away. But if this is your first time on my live, I am Desiree Cocroft, just like you see on the screen. I am Desiree Cocroft. I am a self mastery architect, executive leadership, and life coach. I am a speaker, I am an author, and I am a lover of brunch. I truly enjoy helping women leaders have higher impact by really getting self aware about what is the identity that they need to take on so that they can achieve the next level of leadership that they desire to achieve, whether it's in their current position, moving on to another position, or becoming owner of their own business. So, whatever that next level looks like, I love to help women leaders transition into that with another identity of who they are, another greatness or iteration of greatness of who they are, so they can have higher performance and do it all while loving their journey, loving their life, and doing it full of joy. Because let's face it, what's life like if we're going to be Debbie Downers the whole time? Sorry if your name is Debbie. But today I wanted to talk to you about confidence. Confidence is one of the major reasons why some of my clients have worked with me. They have said that they have lacked confidence either in themselves or confidence in their next situation, or the confidence to walk out their next situation. Because sometimes, honestly, confidence isn't necessarily rooted in ourselves, so to speak. Sometimes we are unclear about our next situation, which can cause us to feel uncertain. And so that can be sometimes interpreted as not having the confidence. And honestly, what I want to talk about today is just the fact that confidence is not something that all of a sudden we have. I think it's something that already exists in us, and it just gets activated. So you already have confidence. To me, confidence is very similar to having that measure of faith. For those that think about faith in terms of the mustard seed of faith. And so when I think about the mustard seed of faith and having faith, we all have a little bit, and it grows as we activate it. And I feel the same way about confidence. We have more faith in our situations, more faith in ourselves, more faith in our outlook as we activate that. And activation comes from actually making a decision. So we can't activate anything, we can't turn anything on until we make the decision to flip the switch, to turn the key, to turn it on. And so I want to talk a little bit today about how confidence comes when we decide. So I wrote a book one time in band camp called Get Your Life Today, 7 Success Hacks for Life, Leadership, and Business. And one of my chapters is on confidence, and it's called Confidence Comes When You Decide, because there's something about decision making that all of a sudden ignites the faith, the action, the energy, or whatever is needed to accomplish a thing. And many times we're waiting around for all of that energy to come before we make a decision. And that is an error. Sometimes the energy won't be there before we make a decision. And so I think the best example I could typically come up with, or the one that I'm going to talk about today, is jump rope. So if any of you have been a jump roper or a double dutcher, whatever the case, I remember when learning how to double dutch, you would kind of get the rhythm of the rope. So as people are turning, you're kind of trying to get a sense of what the rhythm is, and you're almost moving as the rope moves. Sometimes those that are turning get annoyed that you are taking forever to get into the rope. So sometimes they'll stop turning, but then they'll start again and try to get the rhythm back going. And you kind of get in with the rhythm, right? You're waiting for that opportunity to get in. And sometimes there can be so many things going on in one's head. It's like, oh, I might step on the rope, or I might mess them up, or they might get annoyed by me. There's this sense of insecurity, this sense of fear of, looking stupid, this sense of all the things happening in your head. But at the end of the day, you have to have the step taken, just deciding to jump in the rope in the first place. That is what just kind of develops confidence over time. So You're jumping, you're moving, you're moving, you're moving, you jump in, let's say, the ropes collapse. And so you can either walk away from that situation feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough. And sometimes we do, and we don't want to play anymore, especially when you hear outside voices saying, like, oh, you always do this, you don't know how to jump, all the things, right? Or you could say, hey, I want another turn. Sometimes we get excited because we made the decision, and most of us, we start thinking about how can I do that differently so I can get a different result. And I think that confidence grows as we keep making decisions and taking those actions on decisions, not just making a decision in our head. When I say make a decision, I mean make a decision and the action comes behind it. When the action comes behind it, that is where we begin to grow that muscle of faith, that muscle of confidence, that energy around our ability to do a thing. And there is power behind that. And so you get back in the rope. You get back in the rope and you start figuring out how to get into the rope at the right timing over time, right? Because you keep practicing, you keep staying in there because you've decided that I'm going to be a double dutch jumper today. I'm going to be the person that gets in this rope and does it, even if I only jump for like 3 seconds. I am determined at this point because I've already gotten myself into the game. I've gotten into the game of figuring it out. I've already gotten past that threshold of, being afraid, or that threshold of, feeling, inadequate and all the things. So I'm at a point where it's like, let's go. I might as well figure it out at this point. Let me jump in. And so I really want us to think about what is something that we've been hesitating on. Like, what has been a hesitation that we've had in our professional journey or in our personal journey. And I just wonder what would be different if we decided today that regardless of our hesitations, we would do it anyway. And so what I find is that there is energy connected to your decision. So I'll say that again, that there is energy connected to your decision. When you decide to do something you've been hesitating on, there is some stick-to-itiveness that happens because you start having behavior, you start doing things that are aligned with the decision. And because you're doing things aligned with the decision, you're helping your brain tell you that this is what we're doing. Like, this is what's happening. This is how we about to live life. And so the more that you take the action aligned with your decision, the more you are convincing yourself that this is a thing. And sometimes there's still going to be a level of discomfort, especially if it's something that you haven't been used to doing for a while. At the same time, the more that you stay in it, just like playing jump rope, the more that you stay in it, you start learning from your mistakes. You start crystallizing what it looks like to be successful in that area. And before you know it, you feel very comfortable, more confident in it. And it all started with just making the decision. And so I think many times that we are afraid to make the decision in the first place because we think that making the decision has automatically told the world that we're experts at something and that we are perfection. We are the definition of perfection. And sometimes when we have the weight of the world of expertise and perfection on our shoulders, it can cause insecurity because now we're worried about some of the things I talked about in my live on fear. If you haven't taken a look at it, go back and look at it. But it causes you to start wondering if people are going to believe you, if you're an imposter. We hear a lot about imposter syndrome. And so we start talking ourselves out of a thing when in actuality, no one is going to start anything new and be an expert out the gate. Whatever level of expertise that is. All you need to know is be sure of whatever information you do have and use that to apply to the next thing that you're doing as best you can. And so another example, I wrote this in my book, and some of you may have heard me tell this story if you've been on lives with me before or just heard me speak. I love telling the story about when I lived in Philly. I love Philly. I live in Maryland now, but I love Philly. Great food. So anyway, when I was in Philly, I ran the Philly Love Run, which is a 13.1 mile race, a half marathon. Oh, point two, sorry, point two mile race. Wait, is it point one or point two? Now I'm like, I don't remember. I should remember. I think it's point one, 13.1. So yeah, 13.1, and you could let me know in the chat. I'll definitely comment on the chat afterward. But 13.1. And I decided to do it because I was just lingering after church downtown in Philly, and I saw all these people with like aluminum foil wraps around their bodies. I'm like, I wonder what that's for. They must be, in a race or something. It was just, like the aluminum things they put around people to keep them warm after running, whatever the case is. I saw people walking around with those on around Thanksgiving, and I was intrigued. So I was driving home and I saw all these people running, and I was like, oh, this is the Philly Marathon. And I was so inspired. I was inspired to see so many people of different generations and physical abilities running. And I was thinking to myself, like, what's my excuse? And for a long time, I have run and would consider myself a long distance runner ish. Because I'll do 3 to 5 miles, but I never did more than that. And I wasn't like committed to running like that all the time. And to me, I'm like, I'm not a marathon runner. That is for other people that are committed. I am not that person. And so after seeing this race, I just became inspired. I was like, whoa, I think I want to run a half marathon. And so I went home and I started doing all the Google searches, all the things, and trying to figure out how long do I need before I need to, before I can train, like, or how long I needed to train before a race. So I did all that Google searching. And then I also reached out to some friends that I knew ran either 10Ks or half marathons before and got some advice. And then I found out what was going to be the next one. Like, the decision had already started happening. Like, when I was in the car, I was like, I want to do this. And I started going home and just taking the steps. Like, I was not an expert right off the bat on how to prepare for a half marathon. I didn't know what I needed to do at all. It started with me deciding, and I just started figuring stuff out. And it wasn't all at once. It happened in layers. So some things happened that day. A couple days later, a friend told me about, the Nike Run Club app. And so I started using that to start training. And then some friends told me about shoes that I could wear and compressed socks, just all the things, all the running things. And then I started creating playlists because the longer I ran, the more I needed to be entertained, blocking out time on my calendar. So all of these things started happening incrementally as a part of the decision that I made. And then, over time, the confidence in running the race and being able to finish it at a timing and at a pace that I was proud of, and I feel good about having never run one before, began to increase because of the action that I was taking, because of the decision I made. Because it would have never happened had it been like, oh, like, that seems like a good thing to do, and I kept on going on my day. Like, that's not a decision. A decision is, yep, this is something that I want to do, and starting to take even small steps, like going on the internet just to see what it's like to train for one is a small step, calling people, getting more information. I was on the phone or on a call with my mindset coach. I have a lot of coaches because I get in a lot of programs, and coaches should have coaches. Leaders should have coaches. And so it was great listening to him because he was talking about fear. And, I just did a live on fear, so it was great. And he was just talking about, when we have fear, it's a great opportunity for us to get a couple things. When fear comes, we probably need some more information. It's probably something that we don't know, and that's why we're afraid, right? And so for me, like, fear can be disbanded because I got the information I needed. There's nothing for me to be afraid of. I got the information. The other one is support. When we have the support we need, or we find the support we need, it keeps us from being fearful about a thing. And so sometimes we let fear be the end of the road and the biggest barrier, when the fact is, get some more information. get some more information so that that can alleviate some of our fear. Get some support, talk to some people, get some support, some accountability around you, and that can help you alleviate some of those fear. And then some of it is just checking in with ourselves, right? Acknowledging some feelings that we have around a thing. Maybe it's something that is, something that frustrates us. Maybe we've had something in the past that has kind of like blocked us from wanting to do a thing again. And so maybe we just need to acknowledge that, hey, that was something that happened before, but it doesn't need to happen. That doesn't mean it's going to happen again. So some of it is just us regulating some of our emotions and the fact that, some things come up to remind us of things that happened before, for better or for worse, right? And so just acknowledging that. But the thought is that, when we make a decision, that's when the confidence will come. And even furthermore, information helps us build confidence. Having support helps us build confidence, and acknowledging, what happens in our mind. I'm a positive intelligent coach as well. And so when we think about the way our mind works, if we are in a state of just our amygdala, or people call it the lizard brain, that part of our brain that wants to keep us safe is going haywire because of whatever we're experiencing, because we feel like it's something that's going to keep us from being psychologically safe, or even physically safe. Being able to kind of come back to neutral, breathing, taking a walk, journaling, getting quiet with ourselves, whatever is necessary, so that we can actually see a situation for what it is. And we might find that, what am I being scared of in the first place? Like, I could have did that. Have you ever had those situations? I know I have, when you worry about something, or you're super anxious about something, or making a decision about something. And then when you actually get on the other side of it, you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. Like, it wasn't even that bad. Like, you figured it out, you got through it. And there's nothing to shame yourself about. It's just something that our body is always going to do, because our mind tells our body that something is going wrong. So we just get anxious. And so being able to catch it before it takes over your whole day is, hashtag goals. But anyway, I digress. So when we're thinking about making decisions in our lives, I want you to consider how you could just make the decision and allow yourself permission to grow in the action steps that follow. Because the more permission you give yourself to grow in the action steps that follow, the less pressure there is to have perfection, the less pressure it is for us to feel like there's everything, that we have to have everything right. We can actually grow into it, similar to me training for that half marathon, or, just kind of even the jump rope example, just giving yourself permission to learn from mistakes over time, giving yourself permission to do things in a way that's at your own pace, can really help you stick to your decision and help you slowly build confidence. But if you are that person that is like, you know what, the faster I kind of jump on board, the more likely I am to stick to it. Hey, go for it. You know yourself, right? And so if that means make the decision and sign up for the, leadership institute that you've been wanting to do, or if it's like, you know what, I know the name of my business and I've been thinking about it for a long time, I'm going to go ahead and put the paperwork in and get my EIN, or if it's that position that you've been wanting and you want to just have a meeting with your boss about it, and move up. Like, if you want to make some fast decisions because you've been sitting on a thing and the only thing you need to do is pull the trigger, it's like, well, go for it. Like, do it. And every action after that will continue to build your confidence, even if it is not what you thought it would be. And I think that that's important, just like that jump rope example. Even if it's not what you thought it would be, you're going to learn something from it. You're going to learn something from it. So I think it's important. Remember, fear, if we have information that's important to us, that will help alleviate some fear. So maybe you just need to write down or consider, what are the risk factors here by making this decision? Especially if you're a risk adverse person, maybe just knowing, what the pros and cons are can help alleviate some of that anxiety about making the decision. And so I hope that this was really helpful. It's important to me that I see people living the life that they desire. So my personal mission is to ignite and empower people to fulfill their fullest potential. And I think that we spend more of our life worrying about deciding the next thing that we really feel passionate about doing instead of actually doing it. And the reason that we don't do it is because, we feel all these different kind of ways about the what if factor. And at the end of the day, you'll never know if you don't start doing it. And it's not always going to be comfortable. Life teaches us that growth is uncomfortable. I mean, what growth opportunity have you ever had where you didn't feel some level of discomfort? So some of you know, I am a trained dancer. I am a board chair of a nonprofit that I helped to co-found, Signature Dance Company, shout out, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And some people know, but most people don't. I went back to school for dance at 28. I know I look 28, but I went back to school for dance at 28, and I was in a room with 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds. I had some people that were more seasoned dancers, which was cool. And most people were, traditional college students. And I decided I wanted to go back because I wanted to get, some formal training in dance for a concentrated amount of time. I had formal training over the years, but the formal training I had was kind of sporadic. And so in doing that, it gave me the opportunity to be very uncomfortable. It was a tremendous growth experience for me for 2 years. I had quit my job. I went back to school full time for dance, and there was some growing pains, like in my body, mentally, all the things. And I think our bodies teach us so much about just the reflection of life. Like your muscles literally kind of tear apart a bit when you're stretching yourself. when you're working muscles, when you're strengthening muscles, they're kind of tearing a little bit and growing back together stronger so that you can build muscle in those different areas of your body. And so there is something about whatever it is that you are looking to do in your leadership, whether it's getting better at having conversations with those that you lead, whether it's being a stronger presence in your space, whether it's I want to transition into another space. Whatever the case is, there are going to be some growing pains. There are going to be some muscles that get worked, and you have to be okay with the muscles that get worked. And there are going to be some dying of yourself, a lot of dying of your ego and what you think is right, and being right at everything and being critiqued, and really just having to get feedback all around. I think what's interesting in leadership is that you get feedback from those that you lead, and then you get feedback for those that lead you. So you get it at both ends. You're like in the middle, getting feedback for everyone. And then, not to mention, whoever your customers are. So you're getting feedback all around, internally, externally. And so there's a lot of dying of how we think things need to happen. Honestly, I mean, on the flip side, because I'm a recovering cynic, I'm not talking about being in toxic work environments, or, having, toxic staff or anything like that. So that's not meant for you to kind of stay in. So I just want to make that clear. I'm talking about generally healthy, environments where, human beings are humaning and you are stretching yourself in those areas. And I think it's important to know that it's a growth opportunity. We got to set our ego at the door, and be okay with, the opportunities for growth, and, taking the meat and leaving the bones, right? There are some things that you're going to hear that aren't meant for you to kind of take in. And there are going to be some other things that are going to be really good for your trajectory that could be lifelong lessons for you as a leader. And so I hope this was helpful. I think this is like my second, benediction, so to speak. But I hope that was helpful. If you liked what you heard, please share, like, and comment. I would love to hear some of your comments. I know some comments that are going, but I think I told you the last time I did it. This is like some new technology I'm using. And so I'm getting used to trying to like manage all the things. So it's just easier for me not to engage in the comments until after. And I'm streaming this on multiple channels, so that makes it a little more difficult. So I'll get better over time. But right now, I'll comment or answer some of the things that have been said afterward. But definitely want to hear what you have to say. If there's something that you like, then I would love to know what it is. I am going to be doing a workshop. I'm so excited. So if you're still on the line, would love to see you at my free workshop. I'm doing a free workshop next week, Saturday. So it is on a weekend from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And it is talk about leading and living with confidence. And so this is a workshop that I think will be really good because it's there to help you identify, what are some barriers that are keeping you from like really leading as a leader and just living your life with confidence, with the courage to do the things that you know are necessary for your growth. You'll get the opportunity to just see what are those barriers between who you are right now and who you desire to be. Right? We're not in leadership roles to be the same person, but we desire to be something different. So who we are versus who we desire to be. Like, how is that happening or not happening? What can we do to close that gap? And so we want to spend some time thinking about, well, what can we do to close that gap? What are some of those leadership skills we can develop to close that gap? And then if you want to continue to have guidance from me as a coach or trusted advisor, you'll learn about how you can do that with me as well during that time. But it will be free 99. It will be live online on the line. So if you're interested, I will throw that link. I'll throw that link in here so that you can see it. And then that way, if you're interested, please register. Feel free to share with other people, share with your people, and we can, we can chat about it. I know it's going to be an exciting time to really talk about leading and living. A lot of the leaders that I worked with and the people I talked to at the conference, confidence is a big thing that keeps coming up. I think I said at the beginning, a lot of clients have come to me because of struggling in their confidence, decision fatigue around different things. And even at this conference, a lot of the work that I talked about was around, trust and bias. And again, it just comes back to feeling confident about our skill set to make powerful decisions, as well as just to communicate well and just really regulate our emotions. Like we are people. We are people that are peopling. So we are people. And I think as people, we have a hard time, just taking not just people, but as leaders, we have a hard time regulating ourselves in situations, and we want things to happen the way that we want them to happen. But sometimes they're not happening because we're so caught up in what we got going on and what we would want to happen that we're not being intuitive. We're not having like emotional intelligence. So I think it's important to just see where that gap is, because who you need to be may be a person that listens more, that takes their time more, that takes care of themselves more, and that will help you show up. But when we don't take the time to be self-aware about those things, we just keep going, right? We're on the hamster wheel. So I want to go ahead and let me see if I can find, I told you all I have some different technology. So I'm like, can I figure out how to do this? Okay, here it is. Yay. Okay. Sorry, you all. Okay, let me see. Register. Okay. Look, forgive me, you all, while it's taking so much time here. So let me see if I can put this on the screen show. Yay! It's a QR code. I feel fancy. So yeah, go ahead and take a shot of that QR code, and you can use that to register for my free 99 masterclass. I have some limited space, but it is online. I'm willing to do big groups. I'm cool with doing big groups. I've done Zoom trainings and such for almost 150, almost 200 people before. So I'm cool with it. At the same time, it's just nice and I can have an intimate group. So I do have a limit on how many people can come, but just go ahead and register. I might open it to more people if I find that it's still people that want to register. But it is going to be next Saturday. I know it's going to fill up quick. So go ahead and register and share it with a friend and all the things. Share with other colleagues or other leaders that you really think can benefit from leading and living well. It can be seasoned leaders. It can be leaders that are just moving into a different leadership role, or it can be people that are leaders of smaller businesses or smaller firms. that probably don't get the opportunity to have professional development. I do work with all leaders. Most leaders that I work with are women. And so I am one that specifically works with a lot of women. However, I have had some male clients, and so that's okay too. If you want to join the fold. So come on through. Look forward to seeing you there. And until the next time, have a great day. I hope your Thursday was awesome, and hopefully your Friday is awesome as well. I think I might go live tomorrow. So you'll see it. And if I don't, then you won't. Either way, I'll see you next time. Bye.